Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nidus Anarchy series. I'm your host Adam, CIO and co-founder of Nidus, and today I want to talk about something that I just found out about AI that's amazing, and they're called agents. So they're not secret agents like corporate espionage type stuff. These agents are like building a virtual AI crew of your own little people to delegate tasks to do all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's almost like finding AI all over again, because it really just opens up the world to making AI be way more powerful than just using an LLM. So most of us are familiar with using things like ChatGPT or Meta AI's Llama 3, Claude, all these other fun ones that are out there, Gemini from Google, if you want to. It's really not that good though. But we always do zero shot, right? So we're always going in saying, hey, I type something, hit the button, and it gives you the result. So that's called a zero shot request, right? You're putting it in there and the LLM just spits out the response. You're like, okay, this is good enough, or you might tweak it back and forth. Now, what you've probably seen me talk about before and how I develop with AI is it'll show me like, hey, like, okay, I'm going to build out a process. And in that case, I said, hey, here's an architecture diagram. Now I actually want to go and build out the entire infrastructure as code and deploy it to AWS, all from a picture. And it did it, and it's amazing. But it took like an hour, because what I had to do was it would give me code. I'd take the code, I'd put it into Python or wherever it was, the interpreter, and I'd run it. It'd dump an error. I'd take the error, put it back into the LLM. It tells me how to fix the code, gives me the code, and puts it back, right? So that's amazing. First off, like, let's not undermine how freaking awesome that is. Now, when we incorporate agents, this is when things go crazy. And this is like the obviously logical next step. So an agent is just a particular AI bot that you build out that will do a specific task and run certain processes for you. And what it will do is whatever you tell it. So an example of two agents, let's say if we were to take that how I develop with AI video and I made agents for this. So I'd have one agent that is, I'd say, hey, you are an expert level Python developer, an infrastructure as code, CDK developer, you know everything about AWS, and your goal is to build the most robust multi-threaded architecture for any type of a cloud infrastructure, whatever. So that's that agent. That's his job. Every time I tell that LLM to do something, that's what it's going to spit out. Now, what I'm going to do second is I'm going to create another agent. And this agent is going to be the verifier. So this agent is going to say, hey, you're going to receive code. I want you to run this code, verify that it works, and any errors or issues spit back to the code writer. So now what's going to happen is these two agents will then talk to each other using another agent that will be a processor. So we'll go into what all these things are in a minute, but the idea is this. The code guy is going to kick off and write code. He's going to spit that result to the verifier. The verifier is going to run the code. We'll get how that works in a minute too. And he's going to spit back the errors back. And they're just going to keep going back and forth until the code is refined and doing exactly what it's supposed to do and works. Then that result is then delivered to me, the end result user that's using this thing. That's what's crazy. Now, before, remember, we were talking about speed being important, right? So if we're using, let's say, ChatGPT 4 or Claude Opus, they're really good results, but they're a little bit slower, which means every time you go through these iterations, it's going to take a few minutes to get that full result back and delivered to you. Now, enter Grok. We've talked about Grok before, right? And how blazingly fast Grok is. So we can actually leverage Grok's APIs and do this all over with their cloud network and use Grok's LLM as set up as an agent LLM. So now these responses are instant back and forth. So instead of it taking minutes to generate code between these agents and refine it and make it better, it's seconds, or might even feel instantaneous. Really, the lag is the network communication between them. And what's also awesome is you can have every individual agent run a different LLM. So I could have the code LLM, let's say I have that one running on Claude Opus, but I have the verifier LLM running on ChatGPT 3.5 because I want something super speedy, but it doesn't really matter, just good enough. And you can spread it all out. So this is why agents are crazy, because you can have an unlimited amount of agents. You can chain them all together. There's different ways to do it. You can do it serially, right? So one agent does this, then the next one, then it passes it on, pass it on, pass it on. You can do it hierarchically. I'm going to pronounce that wrong, but whatever. So that's the one where basically you can say, okay, I have a task, and I'm going to delegate these tasks out to different agents based on what they do, and I'm going to get all the results back, piece it all together, and deliver it to the result. There's a few other different methods. Like I said, I'm new to this, so I'm definitely not an expert in setting up agents in AI, but I really wanted to get this information out to you guys because this is where it's all going. Like zero-shot LLM is so yesterday. Like, it's all about agents now and setting this stuff up. So to help out with this stuff, there's four major companies out there that have agent software that you can use with these LLMs. The first one, Google just announced theirs. It's called vertex.ai, and they have an agent builder in it. From what I've seen, it's really not the best, but they do have a lot of big corporate clients using it, but all for pretty much the same thing, which is online help chatbots or call center stuff. So they're not really doing anything too crazy yet. And from the reviews I've seen, it's not really the greatest one. The next one is Microsoft. They have one called AutoGen. That one's actually, from my brief playing around with, is pretty good. And also has a lot of good reviews. It's been out for a while, since I think 2023. So this is not a new concept. It's just new to me. Let's just make that clear. I'm not like discovering something amazingly brand new. But so the Microsoft AutoGen is a really good agent system to put together to use. The other one that is super popular, it wasn't really meant to be as an agent builder, is LangChain, and it has a ton of pre-built stuff into it, which we'll go over here in a second. But LangChain is massively popular and has almost become a standard in a lot of places for a lot of this agent stuff and tools and things. And then the other one, which is the one I've been leaning into a lot more recently, is called crewAI. So crewAI is very easy to implement. It's free, it's open source, so you can use it all locally. That's my big thing, is I'm trying to build everything locally. So nothing's going to the cloud. I'm not sharing any proprietary confidential information, and I can do everything, internally as quick as I can. So that's why crewAI for me is a big one too. Now, all of these systems essentially do the same thing. So they all consist of certain components, right? So you have agents, which we kind of talked about. Those are the individual personas that are going to do certain things. We have tasks, which is, okay, what are those agents going to do? Your task is to write code. Your task is to review code. Your task is to go search the web and find relevant articles. Your task is to do whatever. So each agent you can assign tasks to. Then there's tools. This is the part where it gets crazy. So think of this is where the if then else / endless ability for AI to now reach. So these tools then allow it to do anything. So you can make a tool that will run code. You can make a tool that will search the web. You can make a tool that runs something locally in your bash shell. You can make a tool that parses CSV files. So you can have all these different tools and make them available to your agents to perform the tasks. So this way you can have a LLM that says, hey, you're the researcher. You're the researcher agent. And your task is to find every a news article on the web that's relevant and current about whatever is fed into you. And then it could use a tool like a search agent to then go find it in a markdown editor to flip everything into markdown. So therefore this agent will then scour the web using existing API calls like Google API just to return search results. Then it will process it into markdown and return it back within that whole process. Which brings us to the next part, which is processes. So processes are how everything's put together. And what's also really awesome is you'll see the term orchestration flown around. So everyone knows what my feelings are on identity orchestration. It's amazing, right? Because it lets you seamlessly plug in whatever you want. You have this middleware layer that can then do anything. And that's why orchestration is rad. So these agent builders have an orchestration layer. It's called processes. And this is AI orchestration. And it's exactly what you think. If you're familiar with identity orchestration, it works the same way. So you have an orchestrator, and this orchestrator agent then is responsible for all the other agents. That's where the hierarchical stuff comes into play. So you can have one agent that's kind of like your project manager, and you build out that agent to say, hey, look, your job is to first get this information from this person, make sure they're this agent. When this agent comes back with the data, hold on to it, and then spit out this data to the next agent. And you chain a whole flow, if you will, of these AI agents to do whatever tasks are that you set up for it. The last piece of this is memory. So you have all these different agents, which are all individual LLMs, and they could be talking to completely different providers, right? Like I said, one could be using OpenAI, one could be using Gemini, one could be using Claude, one could be using a local LLM. And that has an internal memory system. So as all these systems return results, you can have a local short-term and long-term memory system within these agent builders. So what that means is you can hold all the information that's coming back from all these agents, and then within all that info, then infer the solution or the result or the answer that you asked for from the very beginning. So your agent that's writing the code, your agent that's getting all the latest news articles from online, the other agent that's going to test the code and do everything, all of that comes back into a single memory bank that can be inferred upon to get your results. So you get really highly detailed, very specific answers that just a single zero-shot LLM is impossible to do. Now, what's cool about using these different LLMs, right? So like the OpenAI, I think they have I think ChatGPT-4 has an 8K token input limit, but Claude Opus, I believe, has like a 200,000 input limit. So therefore, you could load entire massive code blocks and research articles back into Claude. So even if OpenAI can't take that huge chunk to then infer off of, you could throw it through Opus and then get your final result through them. So it's really awesome. It really makes it flexible. Think of it like every AI agent could be talking to a different IDP, except those different IDPs are just different LLMs, hosted LLM providers. So these agents are crazy. You can literally do anything you want. And I'm going to show you here real fast, is I have a couple of these things kind of bookmarked here. I just want to kind of show you what's already built out in these things. So if we switch on over here. So first, this is Microsoft's AutoGen. Free, by the way. All these tools are free to use. So the AutoGen tool, really rad. There's a little video here that explains what agents are and what AutoGen does and how it works. Definitely good to go through. This is a really good tool from my little bit of playing around with, and from the reviews and stuff of listening to other people that are way smarter than me talk about it. AutoGen is a good product. vertex.ai. So this is Google's agent builder. So vertex.ai is kind of a conglomerate of tools, and agent builder is one piece of it. But like I said, not really the greatest, but it is being used by a lot of corporate clients. So it's one of those things where if you're getting into the AI business, you're going to want to know this, because this is one of those things where people are going to say, hey, we're looking for someone that knows how to use Google Vertex AI to come and build agents for us, because they're a Google shop, right? So you're going to want to learn it for that reason, really. And then we have crewAI. This is the one that I've been using the most because it's really easy. They got a really simple SDK to plug and play. This one there's a ton of YouTube videos out there to explain how this stuff works and how, like, giving you a bunch of demos and stuff. Definitely recommend hands-on playing. This is something where you really need to get in there and just start making and doing to really understand and grasp it. Just like reading and watching some videos isn't enough. The last one here is LangChain. So these guys have been around for a long time. They were kind of agents before agents were considered like a thing. And they have a ton of resources. So what I want to show you is kind of the tools, right? So agents are just, they're specific LLMs that we've given it a role, essentially. The processes, that's another agent that's going to control how they work together. And then the other thing, right, was and then the tasks is what we tell the agents to do, but the tools, those are what we give agents to use to do things outside of just a regular LLM query. So to show you what's available on the LangChain side, so here's the LangChain tool set right here. So if we look at the tools, I mean, look at this. These are tools that they're all open. Anyone can grab these and use them. And what's awesome is, I believe crewAI and I think AutoGen as well, you can take the LangChain tools and actually use them in crewAI. So you don't have to use just LangChain. That's what I'm saying is, like, LangChain is so widely used that it's like Hugging Face. Everyone has incorporated it into their tools already. So definitely get familiar with LangChain. But I mean, just check out, look at this list of tools here that's available. I mean, ChatGPT plugins, Bing search, Bash shell, AWS Lambda commands. We have file system stuff, Google Drive connections, Google Lens for image searching. You can also obviously just Google searching, GraphQL, Hugging Face hub tools, if this then that webhooks. Now what's interesting is this one right here in the middle. It's called Human as a Tool. So what you're going to hear a lot when talking about agent building is human in the loop. So zero shot, like I said, is when you just say do the blah 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 to the LM, it gives you a result, zero shot answer. Agents, we have this whole workflow, this orchestration using these processes, the agents, these tasks. What's happening is, let's say you have all these agents doing something, but you want a human prompt in the middle. So the agent comes back and says, hey, what do you want me to do to this? Or, hey, I have these 5 different ones. Which one do you want me to do? Or, hey, this is what I have. Does this look good? Or do you want me to refine it? So whenever you want prompting injected into that orchestration flow of these agents doing things, that's called human in the loop. So you inject this human in the loop, and you do that with this right here. So this plugin from LangChain is human as a tool. So you become the tool for the agent. And this is what's hilarious, actually, is to me, this is the first time where the human has become a unfortunate necessity to complete an AI task, where it's like, oh, I guess we're going to need a human to do this. So let's employ human as a tool so that I can finish my job. So you don't want to incorporate it too much because then you're just doing it yourself. But there are obvious reasons why injecting human in the loop is going to be important to really refine and get you better answers. Well, memorize. So for memory utilization of tests and things that have already come back. Weather maps. Reddit search, requests for making just REST calls, SQL database connections, Twilio for text message sending, Wikipedia connections, Wolfram Afra, YouTube, Zapier. So it's like there's so many different things, and that's just the tool part. If you go through, you can see there's a bunch of different retrievers you can pull from that they've already built out. So retrievers go and obviously retrieve data. There's so much information out there. It's great. Now, also, the crewAI, they have their tools. So here's their GitHub repo of all the tools that they've built out that you can use right away. So we have CSV searching, directory reading, reading docx files, so Word files and stuff like that to pull those in. So let's say you have a whole bunch of corporate repo of all your documentation. You could suck all that in and reference that with a RAG, which is currently highlighted. I need to talk about RAGs. RAGs are amazing. We're not going to go into that right now, but RAGs are a huge way to infer answers from an LLM from your local data store, but we'll talk about that later, but it's huge. But yeah, so there's tons of tools already built out there for all these agents to build out. And like I said, all this stuff is open source and free. Like even Microsoft, they're giving away their AutoGen tool. It's awesome. So if you really want to get into AI and do some power building and making actual like applications that do stuff using AI, this is what you're going to use. You're going to use agents. So get familiar with it. I highly recommend starting out with crewAI just because it's really simple. If I had to pick two, I would say crewAI and LangChain. Just watch some YouTube videos. There's tons and tons of information out there, but it's all huge. This is where AI is going. So if you haven't started playing with agents, you're already behind. So check it out. It's not terribly difficult, and it's a ton of fun to see what you can do with these things. So if you've already played with the agents, I'd love to hear what you've been doing down vanilla, because like I said, I'm new to this too. I'm up till 2-3 in the morning just reading documentation and playing scripts just to see what I can do with this stuff, because it's so awesome. It's like every time you're getting these new tools, you're like, this is crazy. And then you figure out a new thing. It's like, this is even crazier. It's like, this is nuts. So play around with agents. You're going to have a ton of fun. It's going to be a crazy world. I'll see you guys around later. Hey everyone, you going to Identiverse this year, May 28th and 29th in Las Vegas? We're going to be there, and we're going to make it awesome. How? We're having a scavenger hunt where you can win awesome prizes, hats, cool bottle opener, butterfly knives, awesome whiskey stones that are all custom branded, leather posters, a real weapon, and cool fun stuff like an invite to our private party. The way that you're going to find it is find these little poker chips all over the convention, tap your phone to them, and that's how you're going to start the scavenger hunt. Lots of cool prizes, and not everyone's going to be able to make it. Hope you can do it. I'll see you guys there. Later.